So I just got done with an awesome ride here in Flagstaff, Arizona on my Specialized Epic Evo. I noticed there's not a lot of reviews for the Epic Evo on YouTube, so I thought I would do my own. Um, yes, I have helmet hair. So I love this bike. It is very fast. I set PRs without even trying on this bike, um, both uphill and downhill. Um, I My previous bike was a Live Lust 1 and it had much more old-fashioned geometry, terrifying, honestly, geometry. This bike is a dream. It descends like a dream. It climbs wonderfully. Even with the long wheelbase, I have found very few downsides. I think when you get to bikes at this level, there's always a downside, right? That's why bikes had a shorter wheelbase, is that they're more flickable. You can get around stuff faster if you live in an area with lots of rocks, lots of tight climbs. You will notice the longer wheelbase sometimes getting in your way. However, I've made everything that I made on my little tiny bike, my previous bike, literally feels like a circus bike now. It's like, what is this thing? How did I even ride a bike this small? This bike's super fun, super light, stiff, responsive, fast. If that's your cup of tea, then this is a bike for you. It's not a point and shoot trail bike, but you're going to be faster. You're going to get up those climbs faster, and like I said, I feel like on the descent, it descends like a beast. It is so much fun without even trying. You know, my previous bike didn't even have a dropper post, and I can be a weight weenie sometimes, and I thought, you don't need it. Yeah, you don't need it. You know, but at this point, I think you would pry that thing out of my cold dead hands. I am such a convert. I love it. It makes descending fun, fast, and safe, way safer. You need skills to mountain bike these days. This bike is so capable. And yet I did not notice any performance issues. As I said at the beginning of the video, that there's always pluses and minuses. The minuses are so small, they're really not mentioning get the bike. My issues with the bike are all down to fit, not performance. Performance wise, I have no complaints whatsoever. Fit wise, I have some issues. I'm 5'5", so I'm exactly on the cusp of a small and medium. So if you're a 5'10", I think it's 5'10" person, or if you're a 5'5" person, you're going to have a hard time choosing a size. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that. I have a medium, and so I'm on the very small end of of fitting a medium bike. As you can see, I have a little tiny stem on here. It's a fun stem with 10mm rise. And I have Diety bars, which I love. I love these bars. They're Speedway bars. Obviously, they're carbon. They soak up chatter. And they have that 9-degree sweep back, which puts your wrists at a great angle. So I love these bars. I run my bars at 750. And honestly, I probably could go to a 740. But I'm leaving them long as an experiment. So Specialized cuts their steer tubes short. This, from where it exits the headset to the very top, is only 50mm. This is a low stack stem. So that doesn't give you a lot of adjustment. So women already have shorter arms than men. My husband's, he's a little taller, maybe an inch taller at the most, and his arms are 3 inches longer. I mean, that's insane. If my arms were 3 inches longer, then I would never have any problem with saddle to bar drop ever. So I really wonder how many women Specialized included in their retool fit, because it must not have been too many, or shorter people, for that matter. To be fair, I probably am on the wrong size bike, but the small, doesn't come with, a longer steer tube either. So if I do sell this bike, I would love to get a small Epic Evo, but I don't know that I can, simply because Specialized cuts those steer tubes short. So Specialized, if you're listening to this, could you please just cut it, leave it longer? Like the Ibis XE, which is another bike I've been looking at, it has 80mm adjustment, and it's so great, because more adjustment is more better. I don't understand why they cut it. Sorry, it just like drives me insane. Because if this were longer with that angle, I would have this much more less reach, and the bike might work for me. So in addition to being on the cusp rider, I also have a lot of aches and pains. I've been riding bikes for over 30 years, so yeah, I'm old. Um, but the awesome thing about endurance sports is like we we older people can continue to rock it, and I hope to continue riding really hard until I'm like dead. So I have pains in my back. I actually had pains in my back forever. It's not just being old. Um, and so that longer reach and the more drop aggravates my back. Then bikes have moved to steeper and steeper seat tube angles, which is great. When you first get on the bike, I love the feel of it, but it can put a little more pressure on your knees. And so for me, I want to move that seat back so that I can take a little pressure off my knees, but I can't because then, the reach would be too long. So if you are on the cusp, I would say you don't have any real pains. Your knees don't hurt, your back doesn't hurt. Then put a short stem on it and go size up, because you get this long wheelbase, you have a stable bike. And like I said, I have no performance issues riding a larger bike. The wheelbase is, it's like having a trail bike in this light little nimble cross-country package. However, if you want to be able to adjust your bike, try out different stems with different rise, different lengths, move your seat, then get the small. So if the bike's a little big for you, you really do sacrifice adjustability. But you do gain that stability. And, I've heard of people, like 5'7" riding a large on this frame. So it really is kind of personal. Yeah, so sizing's so hard. And, the local bike shop sold me this medium, but I did get it here in Flagstaff. I did get a pretty good deal, so I can't complain too much. But, yeah, I do wish I had a small. I do. The bike, I love the bike, but it doesn't love me. It always just feels a teeny bit like it doesn't fit. And that's pretty frustrating when you drop a lot on on a bike like this. You all can look up the specs on the bike online. I upgraded the cranks, 165 XO1s, which I really like. They do have the downside, though, of I have to put the seat up even more. So, if you're thinking about shorter cranks, it's less pressure on your knees and more clearance, and they're lighter. So those are three benefits. They're also less pressure on your hips. So they're better for your body overall. A little lighter. I mean, it's probably not that much. And then obviously the clearance issue is awesome. Having an extra 5 millimeters or 10 millimeters clearance when you're mountain biking really is helpful, to avoid pedal strikes. I have an XX1. You can't see it because it's on the other side, but this comes with an XO1 derailleur, and I put an XX1 cassette on there because I got a great deal on it, and it's rainbow, and it makes me happy. And that'll be fun to get the XX1 chain and be rainbowed out on this gray bike. So yeah, I'm so happy with it. The rear shock, I have no complaints. I'm loving the rear shock. When I first got on the bike, it was like doop-dee, 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 doop-dee. I thought, oh no, because who wants pedal bob, on your full suspension bike? And, but the second you put some oomph into it, that pedal bob just magically disappears, and I think it is the anti-squat technology. So I'm really impressed. I'm impressed with, I pretty much get the full use of this shock, and it feels plush and yet, still really responsive and fast. The front shock, sometimes I feel like for somebody of my weight is, for lighter weight riders, I had to run a little more air pressure or it wouldn't rebound all the way. It would be permanently like 10 millimeters, like stuck down when I ran it at the recommended weight that Specialized at. So that kind of sucks. So I have the fork with more air in it. And even though RockShox says, you know, you don't need to oil their shocks, I bought some shock oil. And between those two things, it no longer does that anymore. So I'm about 125 pounds. Um, I would say if you're 135 and above, you're not going to have to worry about that. You know, if you're less than that, then you might have a little bit of issue with the Sid Select Plus. So I'm not overly wowed by the front fork, but at this point, I don't have any complaints. And the more rigid feel, I kind of go for that, you know, because even though I love descending, you know, I ride a little bit more on the fitness side of things, so uphill times matter to me. I like to hammer, and yeah, so it's a rigid, responsive bike, an excellent climber. It's breathtaking on the descents. You know, to me, someone who's had more cross country bikes, this bike just hauls. It is so much fun. Um, I don't know if there's anything else really to say. You know, I'm running XDR pedals. I really love obviously these don't come with a bike, you have to buy them separately. But one thing I love about these pedals is that they have a really low stack height. And I'm also running 52 millimeter spindle. So if you're shorter, have a shorter shoe size, I would definitely recommend going with the shorter spindle. I don't notice on the downhill any loss of balance from having a more narrow overall pedal stance or stance on the bike. But I will talk about Q factor in my next video because I've really struggled with Q factor issues. I'm very sensitive to that, and I have discovered a few things that have really helped me in this regard. You know, also if you do already have an Epic Evo, you probably already know this, but you know, Specialized, you know, really has their shit together. You can go on their site and put in your like your weight and get the exact like rebound and recommended pressure for the shocks and the tires and all of that. So anyway, beautiful bike, lots of fun. I'm definitely wowed by the bike overall, but I'm probably going to have to sell it. So thanks Specialized for cutting your steer tube super short. Not just kidding. That makes me sad. Otherwise, I adore this bike. So see you soon.